Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of Mini RPG of the Week. My name is Nualake, and I'm the little face down in the middle. Look, I'm down here. Can everyone see me? I'm stuck in the middle. They wouldn't let me get bigger. But look, I have two co-casters, and they look fantastic. Mockfish up above me on one side. Lookers, Turbo on the other side. Lookers, it's your first time on a Mini RPG of the Week stream, and I mean, what an exciting time to be joining.
Great that you're calling me Luckers because that's not my name, but thank you so much.
Kai is fine. I could go to Turbo.
It'll be all right. I gotta get to it.
It's been a stressful last few minutes, okay?
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. And dude, I'm feeling so big. I feel like a giant just below you. Like, you know, you're just so small. I love the overlay. It's so scuffed. I'm ready for the Mini RPG of the Week finale because it has been, in my opinion, the best tournament that has been out there. Together with the Pathfinding Cup. So great that I'm here to cast with Machtfish, who is also one of the co-casters as well as you, Mr. Nualake.
Yeah, Macht, you have been here plenty of times already at this point. I think you've probably cast the first runs of a few of the maps that we're going to play as well today.
Yeah, you're keeping me prisoner here, Nia. Please, someone send help. I need to be freed from the Irish. Send help now, but thanks for having me back. Yeah, we have been in the booth for Mini RPG of the Week quite a bit during this first season, and now obviously the finale, 2 groups of 8. I don't quite know the mode, but everything is scuffed. Let's just be having it.
Well, why don't we run through what the mode today is exactly going to be? We have 16 players qualified. One of them is, of course, Turbo. You have made it into that top 16, and so you will have to abandon us here on the broadcast for the second match. But the first match of the day is going to feed 8 of the 16 players who qualified through TimeAttack. That ran from last Sunday until last Friday. And, you know, best times over the course of that on the campaign that was set up, qualified for this, and then these players will play in 2 heats of 8. The top 2 will qualify from each of those. It's just a classic points round at that point, with the grand finals being then a cup mode between those top 4 players to see who does walk away with the title of the best Mini RPG of the Week player over the course of this first season 1. And Turbo, I mean, you've been probably playing the maps more than anyone else here at this point. I know you've already said there's a pretty clear standout in terms of difficulty, but how do you feel about the map lineup in general?
I think the maps are really cool. A good diversity has been picked. We have backwards parts, we have a freewheel section, we have like a lot of cool parts. I mean, the maps in general were kind of rough, but I think they're great. I think the hardest map though is the mine map. Names are so overrated on maps. I'll tell you that. Names are Crystal Mine, I think it's called. I mean, this one has a really hard part, and it also is very unforgiving due to the fact that you have like a kind of slide that you have to do on the wall because you hold a certain angle, and if you don't make that, you cannot go for that jump. You slow mode, and it's just super hard. It will be super unforgiving, but in general, the maps are cool. They were fun to play, also to hunt them, and I just enjoy them and look forward to see how the players are playing. As you said, 2 players will go through here from 8 players, and I'm looking forward to that. Also to see someone like Aurel playing, who is one of the underdogs in this match, of course, coming in and seat number 9. And or seat number 10, or I think he was just out of me. He was seat number 9, exactly. But he's, of course, a TMGL player. He's ready to do so. So that's why I think that this match is even harder than the match that I have just after that.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect segue into maybe talk a little bit about the players that we do have joining us this evening. In match 2, I'm going to kick things off with that one. We have Zerar, we have Hazard, Techie, Reen, Turbo himself, Azion, Nalex, and Edis. And then this first match, the one we're going to be seeing underway once we get all these players into lobby, once we start getting things ready, is going to be Anix. It's going to be Ixon, Jean-René, Yog, Aurel, Marius89, Corzo, and Luces. And as has been pointed out there, mocked by Turbo, we have Aurel, obviously a TMGL player. I mean, this first match as well, also Marius, who is the player with the most Mini RPG of the Week, wins. Exactly, the Safe Meister himself. So the question becomes, mocked, how does Marius do? Having seen him do so well on some of these maps in the past, can he carry that through to a win today?
I mean, Marius is definitely one of the strongest players we have in Mini RPG, and not just because he's very good in TMGL, but because he has really improved a lot during the weeks and going into the latter weeks, just racking up the wins, just being more comfortable with the RPG style of map. So I feel like we talk about Aurel being a little bit of underdog. Marius is not going to be an underdog for me in this match. He's probably one of the strongest players and has a very good shot at making it for top 2 to qualify for that final, because we've already said during the weeks, Marius is the safe meister. So if he can pick the safe routes while still going quickly, that is going to be key here.
I mean, one thing that you definitely have to consider now is that it's not a knockout, it's a round mode format. I definitely agree with that, but it also really depends what point repartition has been chosen. If it's really worth it for you to go for like first, second, third place endings, of course, there will be players risking a lot. And Marius, if he only gets those fourth, fifth, sixth positions consistently, he will have a hard time. But I still think that, as you said, he has the pace. Also, he has practiced those maps. He has played most of them already in a cup mode format. He knows what to do. He knows how to save. And that's the important part. He knows what to do in almost every situation. So I also pick Marius in a good second position. But who gets first here? Oh, I'm not so sure about that, actually.
Well, I think someone we maybe have to keep eyes on and potentially talk about getting first is Anix, who has come in first after this time attack phase, has had the best times overall on it, and sitting pretty cleanly at the top, is going to be in this first match as well. And so I think looking down there, Turbo, do you expect that to continue then, I suppose, is the question, or is it just that Anix had a bit more time to put in? It's one of the fun things about moving from time attack into then a rounds format is that some players are very good at time attack, some of them will struggle a little bit more in the rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a bit bad because Anix is only playing because of me, kind of, because he was like, what, there's a competition around that? Why are you playing those maps? Why you go for my world record and all of that? And yeah, he actually didn't know about that cup just when I told him. And then he sent me a screenshot with 200,000 points in the campaign. And I was a bit concerned because he literally had 5 out of 5 world record just after 1 hour. So my guy's ready. He's also really fast. But of course, will consistency be his key? Because, you know, we play 5 maps with 4 rounds, so 20 rounds in total. And of course, you have to deliver in all of them. You have to be consistent. And Anix, for me, is also a player who is really, really fast, but also is prone to choke matches. We have seen it in the past. Anix has choked a lot of matches away. I hope that pressure will not get to him, because otherwise he will be the clear favorite of this match, and Marius comes in second then for me.
Yeah, and as you say, there is that extra little bit of pressure just coming in as kind of maybe the person with a target on their back coming in with that first place on their back, and maybe some of the players a little bit further down. Mocked, is there anyone you're kind of keeping an eye on as someone who maybe has a bit of experience but doesn't have that pressure as they're coming in as one of the lower seeds?
I mean, for me, one of the players that certainly will not feel any of the pressure is York. He only came in here. He is technically seed 17. He's only here in the first place because someone else wasn't able to make it. So, I mean, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible for him to make some upsets. We've seen him finish high in the mini RPG, obviously when we're at knockout mode. So if he could build the consistency on the maps, and if he could build the speed on the maps, I think he has a very outside shot, yes, but I think if you don't have any of the pressure, it's gonna do worlds of good for you. We've seen it in other esports titles as well. Once you play freely and once you're not really concerned about where you're finishing, you're actually gonna drive better, or you get a better result than what you were expecting initially.
Yeah, look, all that's really left to be done at this point is maybe get into the driving and see how things go. It looks like players are ready to go, so I'm going to transition the scene and hope that nothing goes wrong with the audio, because, I mean, that's always a possibility today that everything will go wrong. We will be kicking things off on Hellish Dream by MROTW. I'm going to let you guys talk about it as I try to figure out why things are in the wrong size.
Yeah, you have to change that. We had some issues beforehand, but guys, bear with us. It doesn't matter. I just quickly run you through the format again, because we're going to start with a map from Banano, which is Hellish Dream. And also, yeah, the stream resolution is right now also in a Hellish dream, you know, like a fever dream that you have maybe, and you think like, oh, maybe I watched a Trackmania match, but then it's like the resolution is messed up. But I think everything should be fixed in due time. And we have one warm-up with 1 minute, and then we play this map in 4 rounds in rounds mode. So no cup mode. We only have cup mode on this last match in the final, where 4 players will play against each other, and 2 of them will be qualifying from this match and 2 from the other one.
Yeah, exactly. The top 2. We're gonna have 4 rounds on this map here on Hellish Dream by Banana, as you said. The map from week number 1. So cast your mind back about 4 or 5 months. There was a competition, and that was the first one to start off the mini RPGs of the week with an alpha time of about 1 minute and 2 seconds.
You just need to drag the thing. You just need to lower that. You know, if you click on the game, if you click on it
unfortunately, it's not set up to allow that setting.
Wait, why?
Yeah, listen, I don't know. In the meantime,
isn't it allowing this setting? That's super dank. Yeah, well, that's like a very, very dank camera here. As we're just gonna give you a podcast you know, because you can already see things. Right now, we have 4 players that are betting it out for that first points. Corso is in the lead. Ixon with a great approach here as well. You want to release squeeze here a little bit to minimize the airtime and not gear up into gear number 4. Corzo is doing it really, really nicely here. Ixon also with a great jump. Aurel is also doing it really nicely, minimizes the airtime accordingly, and it's looking very good for him to secure himself some points. Ixon, not the best landing here, but now you want to do this risky jump. Will they make it? Corzo is clipping, and Aurel is leading the race. Will he take it or not?
Aurel leading the race because of Corzo's mistake, and Aurel is actually just getting the risky finish beautifully. Ixon very barely sniped there at the end by Jean-René, just about 8/100ths of a second between the two. But yeah, I think the big whiff there in this round definitely coming from Corzo, been leading pretty much the entire race up until that risky jump up high. And that's the brutality of mini RPG that's the brutality of mini RPG. That's the brutality of RPG. Even if you do everything flawlessly, there's going to be one risky trick. There's going to be one barrier in your way, and that's just going to kill you.
Yeah, so let's take a look onto the point repartition, because MotoGP used to be a very, very unforgiving format for someone who's not consistent, or who's consistent but doesn't get those high points. Marius, however, got 79 points. And I can tell you what, he will only get like top 5 at least in those rounds. So it will probably be a good point repartition for him. But of course, you still get a little bit more points compared to the others. You have 192, 85, so we go down by 1 point. The gap is already closing in 1 point columns. I'm not sure how to accordingly explain that in English because I'm not a native speaker, you know. But let's take a look onto Aurel, who's leading right now, doing it really nice.
Yeah, what I'm really enjoying seeing is just the difference in lines there as well. We're seeing plenty of people jump off the top. We're seeing a couple of players take the long way around though and keep their wheels on the ground the entire way through. And we'll see if that does really favor people over the course of it as well. What we are seeing is plenty of confidence from the players. There's a crash in front there. Marius now may get the chance. The Safemeister up to third as players in front made the mistakes. Just needs to nail the finish and nearly snipes it at the end as well. Further down the table, Lucis is trailing. A mistake near the end could lead to an 8th place, but it might still be 7th as there is another crash behind. And we are now just waiting. It'll be Corzo across the line. Started stronger and finished fairly weak at the end there. But Aurel continuing to look good up at the top there, Mocked.
Aurel looking very, very strong at the top end. Not the player that we necessarily expected before to be a consistent force, but 2 wins out of 2 rounds. Definitely a very strong start from him. And who's not having a strong start is Corzo. The man, you know, the RPG specialist, some might call him, but he has been too inconsistent in these earlier rounds. 2 mistakes that just lead him at the very bottom of the table there. 122 points, the minimum possible after 2 rounds. So he's definitely already has a big disadvantage already, and he needs to make up some ground. He needs to make it up sooner rather than later.
And Aurel with 2 wins here, 200 out of 200 points for him. Also driving very close to the world record. He did a 58.7, which is 1 second behind. So consistency is really key right now. But right now he's not looking to win this round because Jean-René has a really good line. But Aurel comes back with a lot of speed here and overtakes Jean-René. This is a really risky jump from Aurel, but he does it very, very nicely. Jean-René, however, still leading. But who's going to win the round? It will be all decided in the ending. Aurel having too much airtime there. So Jean-René is still staying in that first position. And he will win this round here. Yes, he will do so with a 58.7. Another great time. Aurel getting his first, second position. But it seems like a clear tendency here. We have Aurel and Jean-René really are a little bit further ahead now compared to the others.
Yeah, it's still, though, very close the entire way down the field. I mean, look, Yogg's a little way behind and Lucis has only just gone across the line there. But other than that, everyone was within 1 second up at the top. That was a really, really close round. These players are starting to hit their stride. I think they're starting to get a little bit warmed up. This is none of the maps are easy, but this is, I think, one of the more straightforward maps. There's not as many kind of like crazy tricks. It's just good, clean driving. So maybe a good one to start this off. Turbo, I don't know if you feel the same way about them, having driven them much more over the last week.
Yeah, well, I mean, this map is not that easy, I would say, especially the start section. But one part that really annoyed me is this jump, which Aurel always gets really, really well. I mean, you have this transition here. Yeah, that's all right. You know, all really building up towards that part now, because here you can really reduce your airtime by releasing or braking beforehand. We see Aurel braking and releasing just beforehand to not gear up into fourth gear, as I said. You don't want to do that. And then if you have an awkward amount of speed, you will just hit. And also this jump can be very hard. You can clip, and it makes it really, really hard to control your car. And then the ending is, I mean, you just have to survive this ending jump. We have seen mistakes there, but you know, doing that in a pressure situation, someone like Aurel can surely do it the best.
Oh,
Yeah,
Aurel has been so fast the entire way through this. I'm sorry, Mark, but we were on board with Aurel. And from near the pack in the middle, Ixon sniped it at the very end.
Ooh,
I don't know,
great
something
rounds.
going on with the camera there. That's impressive, but Aurel was so quick through the middle section of that round. And managing to overtake people, it was that big quarter pipe that really got him the time that he needed there, Mocked.
Yeah, and it seems to be the case with Aurel on this map here. On this last jump, he was just very, very strong. He just was able to get more speed into that last section, into the finish jump as well. And with that, he's been able to snipe a lot of people and securing overall 384 points. 2 first place and I think 2 second places overall. But I wanted to talk about Marius because he was in a strong position in that last race for a very long time, but then just lacked the speed there at the end to make the jump work. He was sniped by, I think, 7,000. Yeah, 7,000 of a second at 2p3. So he's going to nick himself 4 top 4 finishes. But you can see the points gap with the points distribution. It's really hurting you if you're a safe meister like Marius. At some point, you have to start risking it. He's already 50 points behind Jean-René in second.
And maybe it's on this map, the shortest map, with a length of 41.8 seconds, if you, of course, match Xera's pace, who has the world record. So very tricky map, not too much going on here. I would say it's in the easier end, but there are some tricky transitions, especially the ending and also the start, where you just transition from that, it's like a half pipe section or quarter pipe to quarter pipe section, but of course they're a bit tilted. It feels weird, but you can accumulate so much speed there, and then of course you should not neglect that there's a ring checkpoint, and we're playing rounds mode, so if you mess it up, this transition, you have to respawn all the way back to the checkpoint.
I was going to say, I remember back when we played this map in the weekly format, it was that ring checkpoint, the second checkpoint, or the third checkpoint, third checkpoint that the players go through. Definitely cost a lot of people their runs, cost a lot of people their tournaments. Let's see if anyone does lose it. There was someone immediately into it, and that's an early start. Enix will now be dropping a long way back.
Enix a long way back now, and Marius also with a little clip, so trailing the field currently in P6. Just about half a second behind the rest of the field. Let's see if he can catch up back to it. We're going through that underground section, up to the checkpoint. Marius clips again. That will hurt his chances massively. But at the front, there's still a very close fight between Corzo and Jean-René. And Corzo, by 15,000th of a second, just snipes Jean-René for his first win here on Oreo.
Yeah, 0.7, that's a really good time, actually. I mean, it's only 0.9 away from the world record. And I thought that Jean-René had a better landing, but Corzo with a better approach at the ending, eventually claiming 100 points to his name. And you can see it's getting a bit cozy around that top 4 area, but there's already a kind of a gap, like of 50 points between 3rd and 4th here.
That was a lot of players crashing immediately there at the start. Lucis is behind. It looks like Marius at the back as well. Enix just in front of them. So a lot of players playing catch-up immediately in this round. Ixon is trying to catch up on the scoreboard, though. He's currently sitting a little bit behind Jean-René. A couple of big rounds here could mean big things for him as he tries to move into those top 2 spots.
And Enix again with a mistake. Look at that. He's again behind, and Enix is not really feeling it in this match. It's, unfortunate. We talked about it that he could be the favorite, but he's nowhere to be seen at the moment.
Yeah, Enix, it's the one thing, if you maybe you just have the most time available, the most time on your hands, so you can hunt the campaign to the hell and beyond, but who isn't hunting the campaign or hasn't hunted it too much and is still putting on a strong show is Aurel at the end there, who was in 3rd place for the longest time, but just got a cleanest transition after that last checkpoint, and finding himself again in victory. In front of, yet again, Jean-René, who I have to admit, the name didn't tell me a lot before this event.
Oof.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. To Jean-René. That is something that I've never heard before. I understand that. I respect that you're saying it, but Jean-René, a well-known player in the scene. But I mean, there's so many Frenchies, who are maybe only playing Cup of the Day or other competitions that you have not seen. But Jean-René, really, really good player. Also not Yeah, the slowest, as you can see here.
Well,
but,
evidently very good.
Yeah, evidently, exactly. But look how close this round is. Marius gives us a very good overview. Right now in 5th position, but only 0.15 behind. Anix right now leading the race. Ixon is behind, all of them getting a good approach. Anix a bit more airtime, has a little bit less speed, but of course you have to release here anyway, as Marius gets it really well as well. But now the ending will decide it. Will players clip with their back wheel? Yes, they will do so. Aurel has it really well. What a round that is. Those times are so fast. 42.4 to win it. Very good time from Aurel, being 0.25 ahead of Anix, who has also a very good time on this map indeed. He has not the world record here, there's Serra, who's playing on that second semifinal.
Whew. That was again a very close round, and we're getting a few of them now. I mean, look, the players are all very practiced on the maps, and that is within half a second again between basically the top 5 on it. The end result with those, Aurel continuing to extend his lead out front. He's now nearly 40 points clear of second place. Jean-Rene there, and he is nearly 40 points clear of Ixon, sitting on about 30 at the moment. So looking good, and they're starting to feel comfortable after 2 maps, but there's still a long way to go in this first semi-final.
Yep, there's still 3 more maps that will be played, but we have the last round now on Oreo, and then we also gonna increase the difficulty, I would say, after that map. We have a lot of maps that can be very hard to play. I mean, you have this one part which can really mess you up. But look at Corsa right now, being in the race, 6th position for him in total, but he can do something here to win this round. Didn't get the best landing. Ixon in the lead. Aurel has a good approach again. Ixon has it well as well. Anix is coming out of nowhere. Who's gonna win it? It's so close again. Oh man, but Ixon stays ahead. But Anix snipes Aurel. So a little bit of a needle pinch there from Anix, and says that he's still alive.
Aurel with a rare 3rd place finish, but it's so close on this map. We talked about it on the start. 42 seconds only length, so close finishes were to be expected. Right now, we can see a little bit of a trend developing. Aurel and Jean-Rene, not just very consistent, but very consistent and very quick at the same point. Probably the best possible combination of skills to have in this points format. And they're getting themselves up there, especially Aurel, 50 points clear of Ixon in 3rd. But behind him, Jean-Rene, Ixon, and I still believe that Anix and Marius have an outside shot of making that top 2, but they will have to make some strong performances.
Yeah, on this map, I mean, we have this reactor boost part here where you have to air brake. It's a very precise timing. You can lose or gain a lot of speed there. And then there's also this kind of not transition bug, but it's like an odd slowdown that you can get. And then, of course, we should talk about the ending here, which starts with this bug slide where you want to release very precisely or brake. That's what I did. But if you do it too well, you get airtime like Ixon. You've seen it there. And you have to... It's such a precise input because you have to steer in beforehand gently, but not too much, because if you steer too much, your car's rotating and then you also get a slowdown. So you need to steer accordingly because you still have water tires, and then the rest of the ending is easy, kind of, but you can still push there, as well as the risky, which is not too hard. But funnily, Marius went for the safe ending.
I was going to say, Marius went, when we played the original rounds on this map as well, Marius went safe pretty much every single time. He just refused to even engage with the risky finish. He was like, no.
It's not hard, though.
It'll be fine. We expect to see all these players get a Corso with a very low jump there early in this round. There are bits on this map that can catch people out. There are going to be some awkward bounces, and I think the water reactor boost that sometimes may catch some people, but we expect to see these players get a lot of consistency at this point, having played it this much.
Yep.
Yeah, the consistency at one point, of course, it's going to be there, but it's such a precise input. I think Turbo did a really good job of explaining it earlier. That bug slide is so ultra precise that even no matter how much experience you have with this map, as you see with Ixon, it could still catch you out. It could still punish you if you just have a slightest of mistakes. And it's just about keeping it clean. So the risky finish, while it is much quicker than the safe finish, maybe the right approach from Marius, because the risky finish, I'd personally say maybe that's just a skill issue on my end, isn't completely free either.
I just wanted to praise Marius in this round because he went from P7 to P3 due to mistakes from other players. But now he's throwing for skins. He's throwing harder than I by Power did back then in 2014, 13, something like that. And Marius ends up on P7. So Jean-Rene wins this round, and we will certainly very happy about that because Ixon only with P8, and the discrepancy is increasing again between them. It was only 6 points, but look at that now. It is now 40. something 47.
Yeah,
Too much. It's too much.
45. It's too much, guys. Too much mathematics today.
That was wild. There were so many mistakes there, and mistakes that we weren't expecting to see. Like, yeah, it's a hard bug slide, right? But Ixon, we didn't expect him to see just go sliding off the wrong side of it, and then Marius just ending up backwards and driving off the edge. Like, these are avoidable mistakes. That's not what we were expecting on this map.
Avoidable mistakes. Still, it's the pressure. Like, especially for the players that haven't been doing so hot in the first two maps. They know that they have deficit. I mean, look at Enix, look at Marius, look at Corsa, over 100 points astray from where they'd like to be. And now Marius is struggling again in P6. Let's see what the Buckset is going to bring. No one failing that one. Everyone just getting it perfectly clean. But of course, Corso! Oh my god, what happened there for Corso?
I didn't follow Corso. I just
no idea.
took a look onto Ixon because he had it really well. Almost got airtime, but who's going to win? Oh, Ixon clips there, though. It's certainly not going to be him unless he gets a really good ending. Aurel on P4. Not an extraordinary well here, but there are so many things happening. It's got to be described as a carnage here on this map. But look at that. Ixon failing the ending. Oh, no. He went from 1 to like 8th in just 20 seconds. My poor guy. And he's now falling more and more behind as Jean-René is getting himself in those 92 points.
I mean,
by the way, I'm not gonna say Marius felt the half pipe at the end again, but Marius felt the half pipe at the end again.
There's a nasty gear that you have to hold, so yeah.
Ixon also went from 1st to 8th, but still somehow managed to get 5th because the players behind him also struggling a little bit. That was a fairly wild round. We still have 2 rounds left to go here on Rackham, and it is continuing to be a little bit of a bloodbath. I think we figured out why the plastic is all stained red.
Yeah, I thought actually that the reactor boost will be the decider here because the rest of it was more like you could save it. And Mario seeing, like, I can maybe see myself also doing those mistakes like after that match. But this air break is precise. Aurel did it really well here. Is right now leading and he's on a good time. But let's talk about the world record on this map. It's a 103.4 from Xera, and Enix has driven a 104.2. So 0.8 behind, not a bad time. But Aurel seems to beat this time if he survives that bug side here. Looking good, like a great approach. Will he get airtime there? Yes, he will, and that's what I mean. You can over-rotate, but Aurel was able to save it. So he didn't lose too much time there, and he's extending his lead, and Aurel is on a great time. He just has to survive that ending, and he will extend his lead here. Right now, he's at 924 points. He can surpass the 1,000-point barrier. Just the ending is left for him. Great jump. Jumping a bit too far up. So the others are coming closer. Look how much Enix has caught up, and Aurel will still win it with a 104.5, even though it could have been way faster.
It could have been faster, but at the same time, the run from Aurel was essentially just mega clean, right? And he's still over a second behind world record at this point. So that just goes to show how much these maps were grinded during the time attack phase and during the time where we actually where the maps were hunted to qualify. That the world's records are this strong that even a optically very clean looking run isn't going to bring you anywhere close to world record.
And he definitely was just driving. He was driving a little bit safe at the end there, which, you know, it's the benefit you get when you have a very clean start to the run, a very fast start to the run. He was able to take the final half pipe a little bit safer. And I mean, hey, he's starting out to an early lead here again.
Yeah, my guy is just unstoppable, but he has a good fight here, or like there's a good fight going on between Jean-René and Aurel, as Aurel is a little bit behind because Jean-René had a really good, but better line for Jean-René. By the looks of it, will also minimize airtime there. Accordingly, Aurel had to release because he had a little bit more speed. Now the bug side will decide. Jean-René sliding out. Aurel getting the checkpoint by a hair. That was so close. And he's actually, again, on a very good time. That was such a great bug slide. You can risk it so much there. And, well, who's behind? We see Jorg on P4, 2 seconds behind Aurel. And Aurel will survive that jump. Oh, but Jean-René is coming close. So who's gonna get the better ending? I think Aurel with more speed, and he will yet again win this round.
Chat are going to hit us with some XDDs here because we were following Marius behind the leading pack on the middle of that, and Marius slightly missed his jump into the water and ended up riding the road border for the entire way around. It was rough. It wasn't great. He still come away with a 6, and Enix is struggling to hit the finish. I mean, he still needs to get a finish. That's still 60 points. He will get there with plenty of time remaining. But yeah, I mean, worth noting, if we see a DNF, that's going to be a big problem because that's 60 points that any of the players are leaving behind. My screen has gone black for a second, but we're totally fine. It will be RL continuing to sit in the lead, but Jean-René has closed the gap, and the two of them are really starting to run away with it a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, while Jean-René has closed the gap to RL to like 50 points now, he's 100 point clear in front of Ixon. And really, on that last map, on Wrexham, TI Music, what have you built? You've built a bloodbath. You've built possibly one of the most decisive maps. And Turbo, I hope you have taken good notes for your round next. That is coming up later. Don't throw on Wrexham.
Yeah, I surely don't do that. Real Ease is probably my favorite map. I had a world record on this map, actually. There's a cool gear to hold at the start, as well as a very tight section, and then I did something like a triple Neo slide at some point on this beam section. It was way too dank. It was way too hard. I just did every facial expression when I tried to do that because I had to focus so hard. I'm not gonna do it, but the world record now is doing it. It's really hard. But this map is really nice. Also having a backward section. One of the few maps with a backward section. We also have the last map that has a very cheeky backward section with an interesting turnaround. But of course, there's a lot that can go wrong on this map, but it's very fun to play. And I mean, if we take a look onto the ranking right now, there is Aurel and Jean-René leading. And just considering their seat, you know, there is Anix and Ixon having the top seat, Jean-René on 3rd seat, and Aurel, as I said beforehand, on seat number 5. So it doesn't really matter who actually had the better seat here, by the looks of it.
No, these players definitely have, some of them have come out to play, some of them with a lot of competitive experience as well, and I think standing to them in this situation. The finish here, one that is, as you've mentioned before, a lot of fun with that kind of backward section, the boost section. It caught players out in rounds as having to make the decision when to bail out and when to go back and pick up more speed. Caught a lot of people. Expect to maybe see that happen a little bit less in this. The players should know their limits when it comes to that finish. You'd hope at this point, with time to practice, with time to prepare, but at the moment it is very tight through the middle of the track as 6 players all still within striking distance first, although a couple of people falling off the beam there.
Yeah, and I also want to grab your attention towards this little engine off block there, because that will spell disaster. That will be your death. If you hit that engine off block, you will go absolutely nowhere. As unfortunately, that is my recollection of finishing P9 here during the original mini RPG of the week. That engine off block just killed me.
I don't want to talk about how I went out here. I think I was top 5. And there's also a funny clip because also I made a mistake in that backward section. And then just after that, 2 players made mistakes. So I could have actually won on this map. And I was really mad. But yeah, that's the great part of the mini RPG of the week, right? Okay, Okay, Luex actually finished. He was just driving after that. And I mean, the gaps are increasing. Aurel, I'm almost safe, I would say. And then we have Jean-René, 70 points behind Aurel, and then Ixon losing a bit of time there. Anix also not on this one yet, even though he drove quite inconsistent, getting himself some first or top 3 finishes and making mistakes like there, yeah. Another one there. Good job, Anix. You know, just clipping, getting a penalty, respawning again. All right. I think he's not going anywhere in this round. Oh my god, Anix. I think...
He left. Anix just left.
No.
Anix did not want to go for anything anymore this round. Just left the lobby. And whilst that was happening, Marius is just getting his lead further and further apart. 3/10 now ahead of Aurel. And Marius really needs this win because he needs to come back. Jean-René, maybe not his strongest map. He's struggling. He's had only a P5 finish in that last round. So that could be the opportunity for everyone else to come back. Marius with a clean finish. He will win this, but who will come behind him?
It is Jean-René who comes behind him. 57.7. Also not the worst time on this map, I have to say. So Marius wins it with a quite confident lead of 0.6 of a second. But yeah, Marius snipes again when the others are making mistakes. That's how he's dangerous now, moving up to P number 4 because Anix, yeah, I mean, I've seen his POV, not sure if you guys were following it, but he was literally just rage quitting or quitting after having a bad respawn, making 2 mistakes. And yeah, well, I mean, it's just not frustration, but maybe just having no more chance. But of course, that is a Fields Batman, of course, in the chat for Anix.
Yeah, it feels rough. We were on board with RL on the stream as he crashed out on that wallbang at the end, leading to him taking a 7th place that round, but still his lead feeling pretty insurmountable as him and Jean-René continue to race ahead of the field. But Jean-René on a pretty slow run this time around, and a mistake early has cost him. He is still sitting in 5th place and could look to maybe take a couple of places at the end of this map, but this could be a chance for some of the players sitting behind to maybe try and make inroads.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, Enix just now hasn't reconnected. Maybe his game actually crashed. We don't know. Maybe it was like one of those unfortunate game crash. But he would surely he would come back though. Like he was not out of it. To call it quits right here, after with still a map to be played, I doubt it.
He did. That's a lot of copium in one message, I would say. I mean, it's like he can catch up 40 points, and now he's already down a lot. He's at 1,006 points. He has to win literally every round. Everyone has to DNF. Of course, it can be possible. But, well, I mean, it's like the story, yo, my dog was eating my homework, you know? No one is believing you that.
Give me all the copium. Give me all the hopium in the world. Come on.
Exactly.
My dog ate my Ethernet cable.
my Wi-Fi cable, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wireless LAN cable.
Either way, we are now on the last round of release. It is still a lead for RL. He is still sitting pretty far up on Jean-René. But Ixon, I mean, Ixon has been close. He's not close enough. Jean-René with a mistake early on, again, though, on this map. And Ixon has been closing the gap a little bit here on release.
Yeah, not just a bit.
Sorry.
Not just a bit, sorry. It's difficult. Try-casting is like, always like, we want to talk, we're casting. We have this urge to just talk and spit nonsense. But right now, yeah, Ixon, I mean, he's cut the lead in half pretty much. He went from about 100 points now to, what, is that 54 points or something? As Marius crashes into that last checkpoint. So Ixon with a good chance to make some inways onto Jean-René.
Oh, Jean-René crash!
Techie also with more speed though, but I think Ixon has it. Oh, dude, everyone crashed at the end. What is going on? Like, there's Aurel behind, actually. I thought it was Techie, but Techie's, of course, on the match. I'm tripping already. I'm already at semi-final 2, guys, you know? Just seeing Techie out of nowhere. But it was Aurel behind him. I just saw a little bit of a skin, and I just assumed that it was creation, but it wasn't. So, Ixon wins and comes closer. So, we might come into a map 5 that can be very interesting, because also Marius is at 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Yeah, very good number. Marius will be happy about that, but he needs a miracle. But this can surely happen on Crystal Mine.
Of all maps. I'm so happy we're finishing on Crystal Mine. I mean, it's the most recent one. Yeah, I don't have to play it, so maybe that helps a little bit. I mean, it's the map that the players have the least time on. It was the most recent map, literally week 25 for Mini RPG of the week. And right now, there is a gap of just 30 points between Jean-René and Ixon. That is the gap between who will go to the finals and not. That is a gap that could change with one big mistake. With either of these players, they're both capable of getting top 1, top 2 in any given round. And if the other one comes a long way back, that 30-point gap will swing in an instant.
Oh, this no brakes part is so cheeky there. You see Jean-René making that mistake, and you cannot air brake. If you clip, you don't have the speed. You're kind of forced to respawn, or just, you know, be lucky, you know, brake or do anything, even though braking doesn't work, but you still brake, you know? It's like releasing when you freewheeled. It's just, you do that. You just do that. And Jean-René with an interesting strategy. Doesn't go for the 360. Goes for a cancellation of that slide. It's like a trick, or not rather bug, I would say, because your car is in very high RPM. That's why it's accelerating there. And he's doing it differently. Gives himself maybe a safer approach, but let's see.
I'm wondering, was that him trying to save it, or was that actually the strategy? We're looking forward to figuring that out, because that is an interesting section of the map. I know, I believe it was BMX or Black Pulse. It was someone who plays a lot of the competition who didn't figure out that was the trick and still came top 10, just respawning that checkpoint every single time when we played it. But yeah, definitely a possibility. We're going to stay on board with Jean-René until we see that, because I'm interested to see if he does just have a different strategy to everyone else on that one.
Oh, Johnny, very lucky. I mean, I'm not wondering that it's BMX. He was even struggling getting the author time on Fall 02. Yeah, I'm always memeing about it, but
it was a difficult author time. All right, that ice slide can really mess you up.
Also, the Ixon so far behind. No, of course, I love my guy BMX.
Oral crash as well.
What is happening on this round?
There's been none of them can do it. It doesn't matter what the strategy is. Nobody can make it through this checkpoint. Corzo crashes again. Meanwhile, the players out front have finally gotten away. Marius is a long way in front of anyone else. Lucis is in second. Ixon is holding on to third. This is absurd. It's a wash. I don't know. Give up. Try again next time.
And
Do we have to be scared about people not finishing? We have a 30-second timer. Like,
think so.
surely everyone will finish, right? Right?
Yeah, maybe.
Please. I mean, but one thing we talked about Ixon and John Rene being like 30 points apart, but Ixon has just made that up in one run, and now we've got a difference of 5 points between Ixon and John Rene.
Oof. Also, the discrepancy between P1 and P15 is 3 seconds in the records. Marius did a 1:13. That is not a bad time. But, oh my god,
Ixon got launched!
He was doing these launching straight to the ISS, man. But Aurel leading, Jorge behind, and Marius. Maybe a good map for him because he also caught up. You also have to consider that. Not by a lot, but he caught up.
Yeah, he's in the mix a little bit. I mean, he's behind by about 100 points, so I think we may be running out of rounds for Marius to actually get his way into the top 2, but still a chance to finish.
Fuck up.
It's definitely possible, but I don't know if there's enough points left to be missed. Jean-Rene, is he going to go for it? He still is not going for the 360. It's a completely different strat. It's gone slower for him this round, though.
But he didn't really slow down too much as I was anticipating when I was seeing that line. So Marius still leading, Jean-René behind. Marius will catch up some points. Oh, but look at that fight here. Marius with a great approach. No one going for that bug slide. Interesting. And of course, it's a bit harder due to the water types. But Jean-René going for skins here. And that is vital. That is so important for Marius to stay alive in that match because he could win this round. Will he do so? It's so close. And he will by 600ths of a second. And of Corso, who's also his friend right now because he creates a gap between him and Jean-René.
Corso, big friend, but nearly his mightiest enemy, as Ixon is struggling to finish. He's
of course so. Good.
Ixon is still not finished.
Oh my, no way.
No. I think the finish could have absolutely mugged him off here. Either he missed the checkpoint or the finish has absolutely ruined him.
But losing 30 seconds on this map, oof, that is a bummer. I mean, it can happen, but of course he has seen that Jean-René has finished. So that is almost the predetermined GG here, unless Jean-René also doesn't finish in this round.
Yeah, listen, Aurel this entire time has just been sitting there like the dog in the house on fire. Like, this is fine. The rounds have not been going great for him, but he built up enough of a lead on the early ones. So yeah, Aurel is locked in. Ixon with a big crash in the middle of the map as well, forced to double respawn potentially. No, he's okay for the time being. But Aurel is sitting pretty at the moment, but definitely not based off his performance on this map. And that's something to keep in mind maybe in cup mode.
Yeah. Oh, but Jean-René, making that first mistake. So Marius can come closer. It's a lot of hopium, of course, for the German player. But Jean-René on P6. So one DNF would maybe seal the deal in the next round. If Marius gets first, it can be possible. And maybe Anix is also like, now, oh, why did I leave? You know, maybe that comes into play as well. I actually went for a bug side here. Not sure how much slower that is, but it felt better for me. As Marius is going to win the round. I don't think that he's going to fail the ending. Nope, he's not doing that.
Corso is.
19. Yeah, of Corso he is.
Yeah. Oh, Corso just full speed into that railway track. I think I've done it a few times in rounds. I'll own up to it. I think everyone's done that a couple of times if they've driven this map.
Yeah,
I haven't even seen the risky finish. Not gonna lie, this is the first time I've seen the risky finish, but it doesn't seem to be a lot quicker. It's certainly not easy. But now we talked about hopium for Marius. Hopium would be he needs to finish first or second with Jean-René DNFing, and Marius would still somehow the safe Meister would still get into the finals. He's gonna be looking for that, but Jean-René not messing up here in the beginning, actually taking the lead.
Yeah, looking really good for Jean-René here to just finish. He just has to finish this round, literally. It's easier said than done, but he can also just make mistakes. It's 30 seconds that he has to work with. Not the best speed. And there it's starting. Just double reset. Oh, he can still air brake. Okay, so Jean-René losing a bit of time. but it's still looking great. But that's, of course, the player that we are focusing on right now. Also, Aurel is behind. It doesn't matter, though. Aurel will take first. He is definitely through. But the question is, will Jorne finish? Yogg is
Marius!
in the fall.
Oh no,
Okay.
Marius had a bit of a whoopsie in the middle section. He's still alive. He got through the checkpoint somehow. He is in the slow-mo up to the finish, but that means Jean-René to overtake him in the middle of the track. And I think that was the moment. It needed to be Marius pushing for it first. He needed to hope for the best. Jean-René is recovered effectively anyway. And it looks like heading into the cup mode here for the MROTW Season 1 tournament. From semi-final 1, we're going to have Aurel joining him, Jean-René, the two Frenchmen making it out.
Yeah, great performance from Aurel. I mean, he was just there all the time. He was just present, you know, just being consistent, and that's enough to win. Marius with a great comeback, though. Ixon losing it a little bit in some rounds and unfortunately not making it. Corso also played super well. You should not neglect that. He's also at 1,500 points. And then we have Yogg and Lucas, who are ahead of unnamed, aka Mr. Enix.
Yeah,
And I just
can someone please nerf the Frenchies? They're too good.
Yeah.
A miserable 0 points for all of our casters. But Luckers Turbo, I'm going to hope for your sake that it's a little bit better than 0 points in the next semi-final for you.
My goal is not to get like maybe top 5 is a good goal, but I don't know how consistent I am on those maps.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. I mean, what an enjoyable first semi-final we have had here. Yep. The action is not going to slow down. I think we'll throw it potentially to a quick break because that seems reasonable. Does that seem reasonable to you guys? I think that seems reasonable.
That's very reasonable.
We're going to throw it to a quick break. I hope everyone has enjoyed us here on the first semi-final. We'll be back with the semi-final in a very brief amount of time, and we will see you all soon for that.